Hi, I'm Megan. Welcome to today's live reading of Ross Central Florida Stories by Victoria Saccenti, presented by Itsy Bitsy Book Bits. Join me. Prologue. Avondale, Jacksonville, Florida, 2012. Stop. Don't do this, Steve. Listen to me. You're going to mess up your life. Ross stopped drinking his beer. That was his mother's anxious voice. A barrage of thunderous footsteps running down the staircase followed her shouts. He put the bottle down and dashed to the hallway in time to catch his brother, Steve, running out the door toward his chopper parked at the curb. Ross squinted. A shadowed person waited next to the bike. In a moment, Steve's chopper roared to life. Oh, God. At the bottom of the stairs, his mother sobbed and spoke at the same time. If your brother leaves, his record will be ruined forever. She walked to Ross's side and gripped his arm. Her face was contorted in grimace he'd never seen before. Hold on, Mom. Ross touched her cheek and went after his brother. Ross had come home an hour ago. He'd barely had enough time to hug his mother, throw his duffel on his bed, and grab a beer when the fireworks exploded. As he jogged outside, his vision adjusted to the weak illumination from the streetlights. His soul plummeted when he recognized Hadley, Steve's on and off again girlfriend, waiting by the idling chopper. Not Hadley. He can't take her. Ross stepped in front of the bike with his arms crossed. His brother would have to run him over if he wanted to leave. Steve swung his motorcycle helmet at him. His brown eyes flamed. Get the fuck out of my way. You're not going to stop me. Come on, bro. He frowned at Steve. I just got home like minutes ago. Why is Mom so upset? Steve glared. I don't have to tell you a fucking thing. Go ahead and tell your brother. His mother, a discreet woman who kept up appearances and hated being the topic of gossip, shouted from the front stoop. Evidently, she was beyond caring what the neighbors overheard or thought about this argument. Steve's on probation. He has 3 more weeks to go. Ross raised his eyebrows. Probation? When? Why? What the fuck is it to you? Steve barked. Just because you served and got some fancy ribbons and shit don't give you the right to order me around. You're not Dad. Almost 6 months ago, his mother walked toward them and said he and his best buddy Denton got picked up for shoplifting and assaulting the store owner when the man tried to stop them. He sent the owner to the hospital, so the man pressed charges. I paid Steve's first fine. This was his second offense. I refused to pay again. Ross grasped both handlebars and held on tight. He wouldn't step aside. I don't want to be Dad. I only want to understand what happened, help you if I can. Help me? Steve scoffed. Save it. Go hang out with your military friends. That's all you have time for. He's taking Hadley with him, his mother whimpered. He'll destroy her life. Well, Ross swallowed and turned to the girl, who was wringing her hands furiously. She looked pale, confused, and more beautiful than ever. Under the street lamp, her auburn hair glimmered with soft lights. Sweet, innocent Hadley. And Steve, selfish and self-centered in the extreme, had convinced her to leave with him. His brother wanted his sexual comforts and was taking them on the road. Don't do this, brother. Fuck up your future if you want. Hadley doesn't deserve a life on the run. Ross glared at Steve. Ross is right, sweetheart. Abigail turned to Hadley. You know I love you like a daughter. Where will you go? Where will you live? Stay with us. Enough of this shit. Steve kicked back the bike stand. Get on. He jerked his head at the girl. Hadley, her green eyes huge as saucers, hadn't uttered a word, while the ugly argument between himself, Steve, and their mother had raged on. It'll be okay, she touched Ross's arm, offering a soft smile. Ross knew she wanted to reassure or calm him down, but even the lightest contact with Hadley had the opposite effect. His skin burned, a rush of guilt battered him, and he stepped back from her touch and the bike. He didn't have a right to feel this way. Hadley was taboo. Frowning at his reaction, she licked her lips and nodded. Did she believe he was rejecting her? No, you have it all wrong. He wanted to hold her, tell her the truth, beg her to forget Steve and stay. I'm not pushing you away. I want you too much. Ross pressed his lips into a hard line. Hadley climbed on behind Steve. She wrapped her arms around his brother's waist, and Ross closed his eyes as a bitter taste filled his mouth. When he looked again, his mother was sobbing softly at his side, and the chopper had disappeared into the night. Only a distant roar lingered. He wrapped his arms around his mother's shoulders. Why is life never even? She asked between sobs. One son returns and the other leaves. When are you going back? I'm not re-enlisting. That's a relief. What will happen to them? Oh, Mom. He fought to answer. His throat ached so badly. Do you really want me to answer that? She turned into his chest and wept. Chapter 1, Orlando, Florida, 4 years later. Friday. Speeding toward the rear of the mansion, Ross took the curving driveway much too fast. Good thing neither Ethan nor Kurt was around to see this, otherwise he'd get his ass chewed. At the turn, he swerved his black F-250 into the first slot reserved for employees. Outstanding. He'd beaten Marcus to work. The dungeon master always took the parking spot closest to Club Nexus. Excuse me. The dungeon master always took the parking spot closest to Club Nexus, the brainchild of partners Ethan Ashford and Kurt Allendorf, and the most exclusive dungeon in the city, beautiful Orlando and neighboring areas. The members-only kink club had been cleverly constructed in the back half of Ethan's regal mansion. The sprawling property, located on a quiet, elegant neighborhood, gave privacy to an elite and discerning clientele who sought a discreet place in which to act out their most intimate fantasies and trickiest desires, all under the unseen supervision of an experienced staff that ensured the pleasure and safety of all. Ross bounded up the steps and tried the door. It was unlocked. He didn't have to dig at the bottom of his backpack for his keys. Sending a mental thank you to the kind soul who'd left it open, he rushed past the empty bouncer station, crossed the cocktail lounge toward the bar, and scurried under the counter flap. He checked his watch and let out an exasperated breath. Shit, more time on my hands. A weird feeling had been needling him since he woke up this morning. By the time 3 p.m. had rolled around, he couldn't sit at home another minute. He'd laundered every piece of dirty clothing he could find, and a man could arrange and rearrange his toolbox and tidy up his garage only so many times. Now he was way too early for work. The couple he was scheduled to mentor weren't due for another hour. To boot, last night he'd left the bar nearly prepped, setting up cherries and slicing lemons and limes would kill, about 5-7 minutes of his time. Afternoon, Ethan, his boss, waved from the hallway. Isn't it kind of early for you? Yeah, he drawled, leaning on both elbows on the counter. I've been edgy all day. Couldn't sit still, waiting for something to happen. I have this feeling that a giant shoe is about to fall on my head, so I came in early to keep busy. He swept his hand to encompass the bar from left to right. But as you can see, there's little to do. Last night, I left things organized, and the couple I'm mentoring isn't due for another hour. Ethan walked to the bar and sat on a stool. Have you checked with Abigail? Is your mother okay? We didn't speak today. He rubbed his itching eyelid. When I called her, she was her usual feisty self and looking forward to the weekend. She was packing to spend a few days with their sister, Aunt Willie, in St. Augustine Beach. No, the shoe isn't Mom. It's something else. Don't ask me how I know. I love St. Augustine. I should take Sienna up there for a weekend. Ethan smiled. Let me have a water. Sure. Ross turned to the fridge, pulled out a bottle, and twisted the cap off before putting it on the counter. Thanks. I'm parched. Ethan took a long swig. What do you think's bugging you? He shrugged. If I knew. Well, I hope it isn't the mentoring, because if you've taken a huge load off my shoulders, I've watched you in action and your work is excellent. My first time was a little nerve-wracking. I was afraid of fucking up and wanted to do a good job, especially when dealing with a committed couple. I'm much more comfortable now. Today's mentoring session will be interesting. This is their third appointment, and they've asked a lot of questions about fire play. Ethan exhaled. Are you kidding? No. He cocked his head. I told them we had to have a lengthy preliminary discussion about that type of play. I wanted to test them first. How? What are you planning? I'm going to suggest wax play. Depending on how they handle that, I'll know if they're responsible candidates and ready for fire. He lifted one shoulder. The intensity of wax play may be enough to satisfy their curiosity without stepping up to a more dangerous and complicated scenario. Indeed, you know how I feel about fire. Ethan shook his head. Club Nexus allowed all kinks, even erotic asphyxiation, as long as a dungeon monitor was close by. Couples who are fairly new to the life engaging in fire play make me very nervous. My initial instinct is to say no. Ross chuckled. I hear you. I want to keep my workplace safe and in one piece. In any case, the only suitable room for that kind of edge play is in the VIP section. The couple has a long way to go before they're qualified to go up there. I don't understand, Ethan finished the water. The kink lifestyle has so much to offer, so many variations. Why rush into something so tricky? The internet has sensationalized our world. Fire is exciting and novel. Couples seeking an extra spark to their sex life, no pun intended, flock to us. Most don't realize the safety process is required. Picking up a bar towel, he dried a non-existent smudge on the counter. And here we are, slowing them down as they try to rush in. Well, you have my complete support, and I know Kurt will also agree. I'd rather be safe. Lord knows I've made a ton of mistakes along the way and regretted them all. At the back of the room, the door leading to the VIP floor opened halfway. Sienna, Ethan's wife, peeked out. She glanced around the cocktail lounge, located Ethan, smiled. Pulling the door open, she walked in. Ross tilted his head. Sienna's coming. Is she? Ethan turned around. Get over here, now. He patted his thigh. The statuesque blonde, wearing skin-tight jeans and off-the-shoulder top and crazy high heels, slowed her pace to a seductive sashaying of hips. Ross nodded with appreciation. He wasn't the type of guy who'd openly admire a woman he wasn't dating or sleeping with, but this blonde bombshell could test the resolve of a saint. Ethan groaned under his breath and Ross laughed. His boss's wife knew how to push his buttons. Ross was happy for them. Ethan and Sienna's relationship had started out on the wrong foot. The deck had been stacked up to the ceiling against them. Old lies and deceit had interfered. Even the mob had gotten involved at one point. In the end, and after a long separation, love prevailed. They found their way back to each other. During the past year, Sienna's designing career had taken off in Barcelona, and she was now branching out to Madrid with plans to expand in London. Meanwhile, Ethan, ecstatic with Sienna's success, strutted around like a proud peacock, his feathers arched in full display. The couple split their time together between Central Florida and Sienna's pied-à-terre overseas. Ignoring Ethan's gesture to sit on his lap, Sienna went straight for the bar and reached over the counter. She skimmed her fingertips along the Golden Club Nexus logo on Ross's chest, and then moved to the rose tattoo on his arm. Yum, muscles, she gave a toothy grin. I swear, Ross, you get bigger every day. How's my favorite bartender? Heat rushed to Ross's face. Oh, okay, he said hesitantly. Deep embarrassment had stolen his voice. Enough. Stop teasing the man, Sienna, Ethan growled. He clutched her hips and lifted her to sit on his thigh. She ran her arm around his shoulders. Teasing? Who says I'm teasing? I have a critical eye, and I appreciate perfect masculine lines. Look at him. He is a specimen. Him has a name, Ethan huffed. I understand your admiration and where it's coming from, but it's making Ross self-conscious. Cut it out. Okay, she turned to Ross. Sorry, Ross. I didn't mean to embarrass you. It's okay, he said, thinking he should change the subject. When are you guys heading back to Europe? I'll be going back in 2 weeks, Sienna chirped. My partner Ian is already in Barcelona setting things up for the autumn-winter show. Ethan will join me as soon as he can get away. What's holding you back? Ross asked. Club Nexus is running smoothly, and when Kurt's not here, he's a phone call away. I know, Ethan exhaled. I'm grateful Kurt has taken over most of my share of the club's responsibilities. It's Dad. He doesn't talk about his health, but Mom isn't shy about it. He hasn't been feeling well. Jonas will drive me south when Sienna flies out. I can catch a flight to Barcelona from Miami.